I believe that Andrew and Meghan have crossed paths. Why did they protect Andrew? And it might be because Andrew could have fired back and said that he does, in fact, know Meghan. It could be a real tit for tat moment for them.
There's one question sitting at the centre of the Sussex drama that people keep coming back to. Why did Harry and Meghan never really go after Prince Andrew? Think about it. These are the same two people who dropped one of the most explosive royal memoirs ever written, calling out the institution, exposing private talks and dragging years of family tension into public view. They sat with Oprah and made claims that rocked the monarchy worldwide. They sued newspapers, gave interview after interview, and spoke constantly about betrayal, pressure, and pain.
The Yorks have always been protected by Harry and Meghan, but I think the gloves are about to come off.
But when it came to Andrew, a royal whose public image completely crashed in front of the world, they barely said a word. In Spare, Andrew got just one paragraph. And even that wasn't really about him. It focused on Harry's security complaints instead of exposing his uncle. That silence raised eyebrows fast. Why were they willing to torch so many relationships publicly, but suddenly stay careful when Andrew's name came up? People started asking bigger questions. What did Harry and Meghan know? And maybe even more important, what did Andrew know about them? For years, those questions stayed in the background. Now they're impossible to ignore because something major has changed behind palace walls. At the centre of this storm is Sarah Ferguson, a woman many people underestimated for decades. While royal insiders stayed focused on other scandals, Fergie quietly remained connected to everything happening around the family. Now she's reportedly preparing to write a book, and insiders say the people most nervous about it are not palace aides or the King's team. The real panic may be coming from Harry and Meghan themselves, and that says a lot, because if Sarah Ferguson decides to finally put certain stories on paper, the fallout could hit far beyond another round of royal gossip. The royal family is going through one of its messiest periods in years.
Harry and Meghan are said to be watching developments extremely closely. They are acutely aware that a memoir of that scale would inevitably revisit the most contentious chapters of recent royal history, and they are anxious about how their actions and private exchanges might be framed.
The Sussex fallout still hasn't cooled down, and the scandals tied to Prince Andrew keep getting worse instead of fading away. Now the pressure is spreading across the wider royal circle, especially around the York family and the old system that kept everything hidden for so long. At the same time, Sarah Ferguson is in a rough spot she's never faced before. She's reportedly been pushed out of Royal Lodge and left without any real place inside the institution she once married into. Andrew, the man she stood beside through every public disaster, is now carrying problems so serious that even Fergie seems left without protection or direction. Her daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, are also standing at a major turning point. Their future roles inside the royal structure look more uncertain than ever. And money problems, something tied to Fergie's story for decades, are once again becoming impossible to ignore. Reports claim she's been spending time at an exclusive wellness retreat in Switzerland, where prices are massive per night. At the same time, stories say she's been moving between borrowed luxury homes while friends quietly admit she may not have stable finances, or even a permanent home right now. That mix of pressure, expensive living, and isolation has people watching closely because it creates a dangerous situation. Fergie now looks like someone who feels abandoned by the very institution she defended for years, and when someone feels they have nothing left to lose, publishers pay attention fast.
Ferguson has never been known for diplomatic phrasing or softening her opinions for the sake of harmony. She tends to speak plainly and emotionally about her experiences. That unpredictability, the sense that she might be candid to the point of discomfort, is precisely what is unsettling the Sussexes and indeed the entire British royal family.
That's why tensions are reportedly growing behind the scenes. Sarah Ferguson may know far more about Harry and Meghan than people realise. Not gossip, not palace whispers, but real conversations, real moments, and information she witnessed herself. If those stories ever become public, the damage could spread across the entire royal circle. Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, is now 65 years old, and she has spent nearly 4 decades around the royal family without ever fully belonging to it. She was welcomed when convenient, pushed aside when things got difficult, and constantly pulled back into the spotlight whenever drama exploded. Through all of it, she learned exactly how the royal machine works. Fergie saw everything up close: the royal divorces, Diana's era, the rebuilding of the monarchy under the Queen, the Sussex fallout, and Prince Andrew's public collapse. She watched the family protect certain people while distancing themselves from others. And one thing people say about Sarah Ferguson is this: she remembers everything. She's also never been known for staying quiet for long. Back in 1996, her memoir caused huge tension after comments about Diana reportedly damaged their friendship. That alone showed people something important about Fergie. She was willing to speak openly, even when it upset powerful people around her. That's why some royal watchers think Harry and Meghan could have real reasons to feel nervous now. The careful version of Fergie, the loyal ex-wife who defended Andrew and stayed protective of royal secrets, may be fading away. That version of her depended on having something worth protecting inside royal circles, but now, many of those connections seem weaker than ever. Reports say publishing executives are already chasing the chance to sign her for a major memoir deal.
Fergie is preparing to go nuclear, to drop the bomb that for a long time she has resisted as she grifts for money from whoever is likely to give her a handout. But all of a sudden, as she is completely marginalised, both by the business community, the entertainment community, and the British royal family, she knows the way for the big payday is a Prince Harry-style autobiography.
And unlike first-time authors, Fergie knows exactly how the business works. She's written more than 60 books and understands what kind of stories sell worldwide. She also watched Harry release Spare and saw the massive attention, money, and headlines that followed. For the first time in years, Sarah Ferguson may feel like she has little holding her back from telling her side of the story too. The rumours reportedly started quietly inside publishing circles. Trusted journalists began hearing whispers that Fergie was speaking with major publishers about something far bigger than another lifestyle project or children's book. According to The Buzz, this could be a full insider account of life inside the Windsor family. And that possibility is making people very uncomfortable behind palace walls. Royal insiders reportedly described the situation in a way that instantly raised alarms behind palace doors. One source claimed, "There is every possibility that Sarah Ferguson could sign a major book deal and finally put her version of royal events into print for a massive payday. And once those stories hit shelves, there's no easy way to contain the fallout or reshape the public reaction. That's why the phrase controlling the narrative matters so much here. For decades, the royal family has survived by carefully managing its public image. The institution depends on shaping how people see the monarchy, especially during scandals and family breakdowns. But history has shown what happens when that control slips away. It happened during Diana's era, during Harry and Meghan's Oprah interview, and again during the scandals surrounding Prince Andrew. Each time, the damage lasted for years and completely changed public opinion.
The mainstream media have not reported on the fact Meghan Markle was friends with Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend. That is a fact. They had been on holiday together. There are numerous pictures of them on a yacht holiday. So the fact the press have never mentioned this, and the mainstream media continue to offer some very questionable protection to the facts, this rings my alarm bells massively.
Now, some royal commentators believe a Fergie memoir released under these conditions could become even more explosive than Spare or the Netflix series. Why? Because Sarah Ferguson wouldn't just be telling her own emotional story. She would be speaking as someone who witnessed major events firsthand. And witnesses can be the most dangerous storytellers of all. Royal writer Tom Sykes has reportedly been following the situation closely and believes Fergie may now represent one of the biggest publishing threats facing the monarchy. Not another Sussex book, Fergie herself. What makes this situation especially sensitive is the type of information she may have. According to royal insiders, there are two major categories people worry about. The first involves what Fergie directly witnessed during Harry and Meghan's time inside the royal family. Harry and Meghan were reportedly very close to the York side of the family. Out of all the extended royals, they seemed to connect most with Fergie, Beatrice and Eugenie. Some observers believe both sides bonded over feeling pushed outside the royal power structure and frustrated with the attention surrounding William and Catherine. That closeness matters now because it means Fergie wasn't hearing stories secondhand. She wasn't relying on tabloid gossip or palace whispers. She spent time around Meghan personally, saw interactions herself, and formed her own opinions based on direct experience. According to reports, those experiences included private moments and conversations that have never fully become public. Till now, Sarah Ferguson had reasons to stay quiet and protect certain relationships. But if those loyalties are disappearing, people inside royal circles may be very nervous about what she could finally decide to reveal. The second category of information people are talking about is far more sensitive. It involves questions about Meghan's past social circles before joining the royal family.
David Boyes,
nothing.
who was Virginia Giuffre's attorney, wanted Meghan Markle to give evidence in the civil trial, saying that there were things about Andrew that she knew.
And that is further confirmation that I believe that Andrew and Meghan have crossed paths. Meghan was friends and going on holidays with Epstein's girlfriend.
The elite events, celebrity connections, private clubs, yacht gatherings, charity parties, and wealthy figures linked to powerful networks. What makes this especially controversial is that some of these connections are not just rumours floating online. There are public photos and documented appearances showing the circles Meghan moved in during her acting years. Over time, some of those names and locations have become tied to major public scandals that nobody expected years ago. One detail that keeps resurfacing involves Virginia Giuffre's attorney, David Boyes. He publicly stated that he believed Meghan Markle may have known information connected to Prince Andrew's situation and that he wanted her testimony. That wasn't random gossip from tabloids. It came from a major lawyer speaking in a legal setting. What surprised many observers is how little mainstream coverage that statement received afterward. The topic seemed to disappear almost as quickly as it surfaced, leaving many unanswered questions behind. At the same time, people noticed something else. Harry and Meghan openly criticised many members of the royal family in Spare and other interviews. Charles, Camilla, William, palace staff and the media all faced heavy criticism. But Andrew, despite being one of the most publicly disgraced royals in modern history, was barely mentioned at all. He received only a single paragraph in Spare, and for many royal watchers that silence stood out more than any direct attack would have. If there were truly no sensitive connections, no uncomfortable history and nothing requiring caution, critics argue Andrew likely would have been treated like everyone else. Now, add the business side of this story and the pressure grows even bigger. Harry's memoir reportedly earned a massive advance and became one of the fastest-selling non-fiction books ever released. Publishers saw firsthand how huge royal insider stories can become. That's exactly the calculation people believe Fergie's team is making right now.
She's got to put something out there. She's got to put something sensational. She's got to put something in there that is going to have worldwide global news, people dissecting it, people talking about it. It's got to be truly sensational. And yeah, I mean, the easiest way to do it is to say things about Harry and Meghan.
She's the former wife of one of the monarchy's biggest scandals, the mother of 2 princesses, and someone who witnessed decades of private royal drama up close. If she decides to tell everything she knows, publishers likely see enormous value in that story. And the Sussexes may know it too. People constantly underestimate Sarah Ferguson, and that may be a huge mistake. Fergie understands the publishing world better than most people around the royal family. She's written or co-written more than 60 books and knows exactly what kind of stories attract headlines, money, and public attention. After watching Harry release Spare and seeing the global reaction, she also understands how powerful royal insider stories can become. This isn't someone blindly walking into a book deal. She knows the value of personal secrets, private drama, and behind-the-scenes details better than almost anyone connected to the monarchy. Right now, her situation reportedly makes telling her story more tempting than ever. Financial pressure, personal isolation, and fading royal protection are all changing the way people see her next move. For years, Fergie stayed loyal, partly because remaining connected to the royal circle still carried benefits, even after public scandals. There was always some level of protection tied to staying quiet. But many royal observers believe that feeling of belonging is disappearing fast, And once loyalty no longer brings security or support, silence can stop looking useful. The truth is, this pattern has followed Fergie for decades. Her 1996 memoir shocked royal insiders because she openly shared private stories and named important figures during a very sensitive period after her divorce. The book reportedly damaged her friendship with Princess Diana, but she released it anyway because she wanted her version of events heard and needed the financial success. Many people now believe she could make that same calculation again, only this time the stakes are far bigger. The modern royal family faces non-stop media pressure, online scrutiny, and constant public debate. Then there's the growing focus on Prince Andrew's wider financial connections. Leaked emails connected to past investigations reportedly discussed using Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie's royal status and wealthy contacts during financial struggles involving Fergie. The idea allegedly involved approaching rich individuals for support connected to royal access and influence. It remains unclear how far any of those discussions went, but reports claim the conversations themselves raised serious concerns inside royal circles. That's part of why Prince William is said to be pushing for closer financial oversight.
A $20 million advance, like Harry received, is what she wants. And the people who are most terrified about this are Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Because it is Fergie, of course, who could reveal all about what really went on with this couple and the British royal family and Andrew behind the scenes.
Involving Beatrice and Eugenie. According to royal commentators, the concern is less about punishing the sisters and more about understanding whether any risky financial relationships could still damage the monarchy later on. For a royal family already trying to recover from years of scandals, unanswered financial questions are something senior figures reportedly see as a major threat. Fergie now sits right in the middle of one of the most sensitive royal situations in years. She was present during key moments tied to both the York family drama and the Sussex years. She witnessed private conversations, tense family dynamics, and behind-the-scenes moments the public never saw. That's what makes Sarah Ferguson potentially so dangerous to the monarchy right now. Very few people can connect so many chapters of royal history from first-hand experience. She watched events unfold across decades and knows details that never appeared in official statements or public interviews. Then there's Harry, whose silence on Prince Andrew has become a major story on its own. Whatever people believe about Meghan's past connections or social circles, Harry grew up inside the royal family. He attended the same events, knew the same people, and had access to private information about his uncle for years. By the time the first serious allegations surrounding Andrew became public, Harry was already old enough to fully understand the situation. Yet through every scandal, interview, and even while writing Spare, he said very little about Andrew directly. The one short section mentioning Andrew in Spare wasn't even focused on exposing him. Instead, Harry used it mainly to discuss complaints about his own security arrangements and what he viewed as unfair treatment inside the institution. That silence stood out even more because Harry openly criticised so many other people. Charles, Camilla, William, Catherine, palace staff, and the British media all faced sharp attacks in his memoir and interviews. But Andrew, despite becoming one of the monarchy's biggest public scandals, was mostly left untouched. Many royal watchers think that contrast says a lot. Some believe Harry deliberately avoided discussing certain topics because revealing too much could have created even bigger fallout than anything already published.
Harry's been brainwashed by Meghan. Who could disagree? Since they got married, he suddenly hates his country, hates his family, hates being a royal, and goes off for a very boring life in California. This is not a marriage. This is a hostage situation.
That theory leads back to what some commentators describe as an unspoken understanding between the Sussexes and the York family. Both sides reportedly saw themselves as outsiders compared to William and the future leadership of the monarchy. According to this view, there may have been a quiet agreement not to publicly target each other, because both sides understood how damaging deeper revelations could become. And now, with Sarah Ferguson possibly considering a tell-all memoir, people are wondering whether that long-standing silence could finally break. People who follow the royal family closely say this alleged mutual protection between the Sussexes and the Yorks went far beyond simply avoiding each other in interviews. It reportedly became an ongoing decision to stay away from topics that could seriously damage both sides. The timing is what makes many observers suspicious. Harry and Meghan's biggest public attacks on the monarchy, the Oprah interview, the Netflix series, and Spare, happened almost at the exact same time Prince Andrew's scandals were exploding worldwide. During that period, Andrew faced massive public fallout. Legal battles, losing military titles, and being pushed out of royal duties all happened while the Sussexes were openly criticising other members of the family. Yet despite targeting Charles, William, Camilla, Catherine, palace staff and the press, they barely touched Andrew at all. That restraint looked very deliberate to many royal commentators, especially because Harry and Meghan had already shown they were willing to reveal painful private details when they felt wronged. So people naturally began asking why Andrew seemed off limits. One theory that keeps surfacing involves overlapping social circles from Meghan's life before royalty. Some commentators speculate that certain wealthy networks, celebrity connections, and shared acquaintances may have created an uncomfortable situation for both sides if fully exposed publicly.
There's no way that you can't tell me Meghan wouldn't have got an invite through some of her friends to attend the big lavish parties that Epstein was known for throwing, with lots of girls, some professional, some not, some models, some D-list cable TV actresses desperate for fame. So there is a good chance that Meghan does know something about Andrew, because she never said anything. Harry never said anything with all of their attacks.
According to this idea, silence may have benefited everyone involved, not because of a formal deal, but because nobody wanted deeper scrutiny into who attended which events or what private relationships may have existed years earlier. The problem is that secrets rarely stay buried forever, and now people believe the balance that kept everyone quiet could be starting to collapse because Sarah Ferguson may no longer feel tied to the old rules protecting the family. For years, loyalty and royal connections reportedly gave Fergie reasons to stay careful. But if those protections are fading, she could decide there's little left to lose by speaking openly. That possibility matters because one of the biggest debates during the Sussex era has always been the gap between Harry and Meghan's public version of events and what palace insiders privately claim really happened. Staff members, courtiers, and relatives have hinted for years that there are many untold stories behind the scenes. Most of those people stayed silent publicly. But if Fergie chooses to speak, some royal watchers believe she could reveal details that dramatically change how parts of the Sussex story are viewed. Sarah Ferguson was reportedly close enough to Harry and Meghan during their royal years to witness how things operated behind closed doors. She saw the pressures, the staff dynamics, the expectations, and the way Meghan handled royal life from inside the family itself. Claims about difficult working relationships have circulated for years through journalists and palace insiders. But critics of those stories often dismiss them as media attacks or establishment spin. The difference with Fergie is that she cannot easily be painted as a loyal palace insider blindly protecting the monarchy. That's what makes her voice potentially so powerful. If someone with her complicated history with the royal family publicly confirmed certain stories, it would land very differently than another tabloid report. Many royal watchers believe this is what truly worries Harry and Meghan, not rumours but first-hand confirmation from someone who was personally there. If Fergie ever said, "I saw it myself," the public reaction could be huge, because she spent years inside the same private circles. Her relationship with Queen Elizabeth also adds emotional weight to the situation. Fergie has spoken warmly about the late Queen for years, and even cared for her beloved dogs after her passing. So, if she defended the Queen, or criticised how others treated her behind the scenes, people would likely take those comments seriously. But the story gets even more complicated because this isn't only about Fergie anymore. Her daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, are now deeply tied to whatever happens next. Reports suggest Prince William has been drawing a much firmer line around the future of the monarchy. According to royal commentators, the York princesses were excluded from major royal events like Royal Ascot, and senior royals were reportedly encouraged to keep public distance from them.
Meghan really was a force when she joined that family, of just being terrible to everyone. And Fergie could, in fact, mention that. As I said, Fergie is loyal to Queen Elizabeth II, and I don't think that will change in the book. And Meghan obviously was terrible to her after everything that she gave them. So for that now to come out will again show that Harry and Meghan have lied.
There have also been reports about concerns surrounding financial transparency connected to the York family. Some insiders claim discussions about financial reviews created tension behind the scenes, though many details remain unclear publicly. For Beatrice and Eugenie, the situation is especially difficult because they're trying to build lives separate from their parents' scandals. Both now have families, children, and husbands with careers outside palace life, yet they remain permanently linked to controversies they didn't fully create. That's why some commentators argue they're being treated unfairly. Daily Telegraph columnist Celia Walden recently defended the sisters, pointing out that neither has written a memoir, attacked the monarchy publicly, or sold private royal stories for money. According to supporters, the late Queen cared deeply about Beatrice and Eugenie and wanted them protected despite the chaos surrounding the York family. But as Prince William reportedly reshapes the monarchy around a smaller inner circle, many are questioning whether the York sisters still have any real future inside royal life at all. Supporters of Beatrice and Eugenie argue they've been judged too harshly, and for many people that defence sounds reasonable. But questions surrounding finances and transparency still continue to hang over the York family. Reports about possible business discussions during periods of serious financial pressure have kept attention focused on what may have happened behind the scenes. Some royal commentators believe Prince William's push for greater financial clarity goes beyond simple palace procedure. According to insiders, William reportedly wants complete transparency before allowing the Yorks back into a stronger royal position. That alone has fueled speculation that senior royals are worried about unresolved financial questions connected to past arrangements and outside contacts, and Sarah Ferguson likely knows exactly what was discussed during those difficult years. If she writes a memoir, even the details she chooses not to include could send powerful signals about what happened privately and who knew certain things at the time. That's why this situation now connects directly to Prince William and the future direction of the monarchy. More than anyone else, William appears focused on rebuilding the institution around stricter standards and a smaller trusted inner circle. Observers say his handling of the York family reflects a major shift from the old royal strategy. In previous generations, scandals were often managed quietly behind the scenes while public unity stayed intact. Queen Elizabeth became famous for handling family crises carefully without making the monarchy appear unstable. But William reportedly sees things very differently. Many royal watchers believe he thinks the old system of quietly absorbing scandals no longer works in the modern media era.
I do believe that there is a chance that if Beatrice and Eugenie can save their bacon, as it were, by distancing themselves from their mother, they will advise her not to do something as bad and as damaging as that.
The problem
So
is, I just don't think that there is a way back now for Eugenie and Beatrice.
Instead, the message now seems much firmer. Meet the standards expected by the institution, or risk being pushed outside of it completely. And according to reports, those standards apply to everyone, even family members with royal titles and long histories inside the monarchy. That creates a major problem for the York family and possibly for Fergie's future decisions. If she believes there's little chance of fully returning to royal favour, the motivation to stay silent could disappear fast. Some commentators think William's approach is effectively signalling that certain bridges are already burned. If true, that changes the calculation entirely, because silence may no longer offer protection, access, or security. And that brings attention back to Harry and Meghan too. According to critics, the relationships surrounding the Sussex story have often followed a pattern. Alliances form during difficult moments, then collapse publicly once tensions rise. Now, royal watchers are wondering whether the same thing could happen between the Sussexes and the York family, if Sarah Ferguson finally decides to speak openly about everything she witnessed behind palace doors. Sarah Ferguson is far from the only person once close to Harry and Meghan who could potentially speak out someday. Over the years, several former friends, staff members and insiders have reportedly stayed quiet despite tensions and falling outs behind the scenes. That's what makes the situation so uncomfortable for the Sussexes now. Many people who once defended them or stayed loyal may no longer feel the same pressure to protect private stories forever. Critics argue this pattern didn't suddenly begin after Meghan joined the royal family. They point to earlier friendships, family disputes, and relationships from her suits years that later ended publicly or became strained over time. According to those critics, the issue isn't simple bad luck or constant misunderstanding. They believe Meghan often prioritised her own goals in ways that damaged relationships around her. Supporters strongly disagree with that view, but the debate has followed her for years. The late Queen reportedly gave Harry and Meghan enormous opportunities inside the monarchy. Meghan especially entered one of the most famous institutions in the world with global attention, influence, and the chance to help shape a modern royal future. But according to many palace accounts, tensions grew because expectations on both sides never fully matched. Critics claim Meghan wanted more freedom and influence than the institution traditionally allowed, while the monarchy expected stronger loyalty and adaptation in return. Once that conflict became impossible to manage, the Sussexes didn't quietly step away. Instead, interviews, documentaries, memoirs, and public accusations pushed the family drama onto a worldwide stage. Now the relationship between Harry, Meghan, and the royal family appears worse than it has been in years. Hopes for a slow reconciliation or calmer private communication seem to have faded instead of improved.
Something has to be done to preserve the future of the monarchy because Harry and Andrew are both massive risks, and it's a risk that needs to be assessed very quickly here. And I think definitely there could be a route forwards where their titles are stripped, and I think that's the only way to go.
Reports suggest Prince William's position toward Harry has become especially firm. Meanwhile, King Charles reportedly faces constant pressure trying to balance family emotions with protecting the stability of the monarchy during a difficult period for the institution. At the same time, Harry and Meghan's commercial projects continue to keep royal connections in the spotlight. Critics argue their business ventures still rely heavily on royal status, insider stories, and public fascination with palace life. Yet according to multiple reports, Harry himself has privately expressed missing parts of his old life in Britain. Some insiders claim he longs for something quieter and more connected to the family and country he left behind. Whether that kind of return is even possible anymore remains one of the biggest unanswered questions surrounding the Sussex story. Wanting reconciliation privately and actually behaving in ways that make it possible are two very different things. Many royal watchers believe that gap has become one of the biggest problems in Harry's story for years now. And into that already tense situation steps Sarah Ferguson, a true wildcard inside royal circles. Fergie has her own frustrations, financial pressures, complicated family history, and personal opinions about everything that has unfolded between the Sussexes and the monarchy. Unlike many palace insiders, she has watched this drama from extremely close range. Now, according to commentators, she may be reaching a point where staying silent no longer benefits her the way it once did. That possibility reportedly has both the palace and the Sussexes paying very close attention. A potential Fergie memoir is no longer viewed as a distant rumour or harmless gossip topic. Behind the scenes, people are said to see it as a real problem with no easy solution, because this situation is about more than just one book deal. It highlights something much bigger. What happens when people carrying major secrets feel they have nothing left to protect anymore? The Sussex saga has already created years of non-stop controversy, public accusations, documentaries, interviews, and royal divisions. And somehow, new complications keep appearing from every direction. Now, streaming platforms may add another layer of pressure. Reports claim Netflix has discussed revisiting royal scandals through special projects or dramatized episodes connected to major moments involving the monarchy. According to entertainment insiders, Prince Andrew's scandals could become one of the biggest focuses. And if a large-scale dramatization reaches audiences the way The Crown did, the impact could be enormous for public perception.
The truth about Meghan is she will always find a way in which she thinks she can win. And the casualties are irrelevant, whether it's her father, her old best friends, her first husband. There always will be casualties in her life. The question is, when will Harry become the casualty?
For younger viewers especially, dramatized series often become their version of history. Many people learn about royal scandals more through television and streaming shows than through official records or newspaper archives. That creates huge anxiety inside royal circles, because once these stories enter popular culture, control over the narrative becomes almost impossible. Public opinion starts forming through entertainment, social media, and online discussions far beyond palace influence. A dramatisation focused on Andrew would also likely bring renewed attention to the wider social network surrounding him during those years. And critics argue that once audiences begin connecting overlapping circles, celebrity contacts, and elite social connections, difficult questions may grow even louder. That loss of control is what reportedly worries the royal family most right now. The old system of carefully managing scandals behind closed doors no longer works the way it once did. And with people like Fergie potentially ready to speak, the sense of stability around the Sussex story may be slipping even further. They can't erase what Harry revealed in Spare, and they can't undo what millions already watched in the Netflix documentary. At this point, the only thing left is trying to manage whatever comes next. And if Sarah Ferguson really moves forward with a memoir, Many Royal, watchers believe the fallout could become even harder to control than anything we've seen so far. Harry and Meghan were able to push back against critics before. They argued palace insiders were leaking stories against them, and they claimed documentaries and interviews finally allowed them to share their side. But a Fergie memoir would be completely different. Sarah Ferguson can't easily be dismissed as some palace spokesperson or establishment figure protecting royal interests. If anything, she's spent years existing on the outside of the institution while still knowing exactly how it operates behind closed doors. That's what makes her so unpredictable right now. She reportedly has no strong reason left to protect the palace, but she also may feel no reason to protect Harry and Meghan either.
They know a lot about how Prince Harry and Meghan Markle behaved during their time in the British royal family. Because even though Harry and Meghan are now trying to distance themselves from the Yorks, they were closest to the Yorks out of anyone, because they loved going around to the Yorks and being able to bitch about William and Catherine and sort of act as if they were like on the outer of the family together.
For the first time in decades, Fergie appears completely free to speak on her own terms, and that freedom could make her one of the most powerful voices in the entire royal drama. She now stands at a major crossroads. One path is silence, holding back in hopes that her daughters and grandchildren might still keep some connection to royal life in the future. The other path is the book deal, the headlines, the money, and the chance to finally tell her full story without worrying about palace rules or family pressure. If that happens, many believe it could reveal details that completely reshape how people view the Sussex years and the hidden tensions surrounding them. What makes this story so fascinating is that some of the same choices Harry and Meghan made publicly may now be creating the very situation threatening them behind the scenes. Years of broken relationships, silence around certain topics, and public family battles may have opened the door to a much bigger problem. But now, I want to hear from you. If you were in Fergie's position, would you stay silent after everything that's happened, or would you finally tell your side of the story? And do you think Harry and Meghan still deserve that silence and protection? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because these conversations always get intense. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone following the royal drama. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss the next big update.